Hey everyone, Eggman here with another video, and we have round number 8 for the Treasure Cup here at Level Up Expo hosted by PlayTCG. It is the last round of Swiss here, and we do have this Eustass Kid mirror match with Jackson Hoang on the left and William on the right here. And real quick too, I just want to apologize for some quality stuff. This was hand cam here, so there's a little shaky, and then also the audio is just with a microphone from my headset just because we are on the road. So anyways, going on into this match, we do have the, again, just standard Bonnie to killer, and then swung into leader, go down to 4 for Jackson, and then played the Okiku, which is going to be pretty strong to start off this game, going to pressure a lot of what's on Jackson's board there. And it looks like they're going to play the ISO for 3 and looking at either getting rid of the Okiku or the Bonnie, asking for cards in hand, and deciding, you know what, they're probably going to be able to defend the Okiku, so let's just go get rid of the Bonnie, which is, I think, what's going to happen. Be very, very surprised if you decide to try to save it. And yeah, 5-1, and then playing the beige to pass the turn there. So pretty strong start again for William. That Okiku is going to be able to put a lot of pressure on a board like this, and we're going to have to see what the decision is. And looking through hand, has a pretty sizable one right now, using the Okiku, so 6k into leader, using the rest on the ISO, which is really interesting there. And 6 there, going down to 3 life for Jackson. And then using the leader to swing into the ISO, deciding eventually to use the beige to get out of it, or at least protect the ISO. And then the killer for 3 and doing that there. So I'm actually kind of surprised they didn't use the ISO or the Okiku to get rid of the killer, or the beige to get that to suspend it. So a little surprised there, because then, especially with killer, you can kind of pressure and do some stuff. But I can see why you'd want to use the killer to get rid of the ISO. But really, I don't know. I'm not sure if I would do the same thing. Anyways, just using a big 8k swing onto the Okiku, which just means you're going to have to get at least 2 cards out of hand to protect it with the numbers, which means 2 2ks. Which is kind of a lot to ask for, but we do have the Paradise Waterfall to not only get it back into active, but get out of it with another 2k. Then playing their own Okiku and passing the turn there. So definitely a lot more of kind of like board tempo here for William straight out the gate. And looking like deciding on what to do for this turn. Put another Dawn on Okiku and used it to let's see, asking about Dawn. Yeah, suspending the Okiku there, taking the 1, going down to 2 life, and then attacking assumedly into the Okiku. Yeah, getting a Neko out of hand, and then eventually deciding to play a second killer. So for 3, getting rid of the Okiku. So doing that like sneaky little swing there to try to make, get a discard 1 totally worked. And then playing the blocker killer and just passing it there with having a Dawn underneath it as well, which means you do get the draw with the current board state. So passing it back to Jackson here. Jackson attacks into, I believe it was leader. It doesn't matter what it was because killer will block it. You get the card draw. And now you're in just a rough spot. So Bonnie for 1, using the effect to look at the top 5. And let's see which of these they decide to get. Yeah, grabbing a Basil Hawkins here. Definitely something that can be very good in the mirror. But if I recall correctly, it's not going to be much more useful than a discard here. Putting the 3 to restand the leader. And then I think they're just going to go, yeah, big old 8 into the Okiku here. And there are not a lot of cards in William's hands. He's kind of been using a lot of them to just on the board. Yeah, 2 cards in hand, so they have to be both specifically 2Ks to get to 8K. And that was not the case. So only, 3 cards to hand at the start of the turn with this draw. And let's see what their turn is. At 9 Dawn, so some good plays. Obviously, a killer here makes a lot of sense. I don't think you want to block it with your blocker either. And then for 2, using a Bonnie and looking top 5. So 7 Dawn active at the moment. Looking at that top 5, you could get a 7-drop blocker, which would be pretty good. 8 drops, also pretty solid too. You just won't be able to play it this turn. Yeah, deciding on that for sure. And let's see what you do with that extra 7. Looks like a swing 2 leader going straight down to 1 card in life, which is a little bit risky, especially with the Eustass Kid leader. And then we do have the 7 drop coming down. So a pretty, a lot of pressure from William. Still at 5 life as well, compared to just 1 life and just a killer. But there are a bunch more cards in Jackson's hand, and we'll have to see what he decides to do with them. So first, using the leader swing on the Bonnie. Pretty sure it's a pretty safe block with the 7 drop, because with green not having any cards with rush, it's just an easy. They're going to have a hard time getting any more attacks this turn, unless it's just kind of some bait to for a 3 to get the reswing. But even so, yeah. So actually 2 drop blocker swing there. I actually like that play a lot. I think it does a lot, especially with the Trafalgar Law. You get to bounce it back into your hand, and then ending up deciding to play. Let's see. Looks like they've decided to play an Okiku, which is cool, just because that does not have any any counter cost there, and a little shaky in my hands personally. Sorry for all the less steadiness there. But for 2, playing off the killer again, using the 1 underneath it, so you do get the card draw if it blocks with the current board state, and 2 open, and just passing there. And again, you do not have to put too much more pressure on to Jackson right here, especially since you do have the 7 drop and you have your 8 drop. So, or not your 8 drop. Well, you have 8 drop in hand, which we know, but we do have our leader swing. But just deciding to say, you know what, just 5 into the leader, because that's the only place you can swing right now, using the Trafalgar Law. Honestly, at this point, I would try to be a little bit more aggressive. I think you're kind of allowed to, especially with 7 dropout. But deciding to get more kind of defensive value. So 9k at leader, or at law. I'm not sure which it is, but with killer blocking, it doesn't matter either way. Taking the draw 1. I would think it would be at law, but I'm not sure. And then playing the big 8 drop and passing turn there. I don't know. I think at 1 life and the board state as it was, maybe you could get away with trying to attack leader a couple more times. Especially with these 5k kill, you can make the killers 5ks as well, which are a lot, but that is just not the play you decide to go. So Jackson plays the 8 drop, uses the Dawn underneath it, going to force the redirection, and then playing another killer from their hand, and deciding if wanting to put the 1 Dawn underneath it. I think you do. Yeah, you sure do. So again, you would be able to get the draw on the block of that, and just passing with an 8 drop kid out and 2 blockers, which is quite nice. So I think if this was the board state anyways, that's just how it kind of have to be, because yeah, even if you were more aggressive, I think you'd still be able to kind of have the 8 drop with at least 1 blocker, if not 2 next turn. So looking like doing a big 8k swing, getting out of it with the killer. I think Jackson has about 4 or 5 cards in hand. It looks like William decides to do the Momo for 1, and then paying the 1 to look at the top 5 cards of the deck. Didn't look like there were a lot of hits. Yeah, hitting an ISO. And then you could use that to suspend the killer, which is not the case. They decided to play another 7 drop and pass turn, which is quite the formidable board. 2 7 drops and an 8 drop. That seems pretty good for a mirror match like this. But it looks like starting with the Okiku, swing into the Momo, getting rid of it. You don't really want to block that. Then attacking with the leader, taking their first damage in 10 minutes of this game. This is edited down, if you can't tell, so it's a little bit longer than that. But really, it's pretty wild how long it took to take their first hit of damage. And then swimming with a 9k, yeah, taking that 2, going down to 3. And then playing a Bonnie for 1, using another 1 to look at top 5. I'm not sure exactly what would be a good hit from, what supernova are you looking for right now? I can see maybe a blocker, or yeah, killer's a blocker. Blocker's pretty good, especially since you do have 2 set up, and you can really just do a really good protection on your 8 drop. And here's a really cool play that I probably wouldn't play, but wouldn't think of, or I think it'd be a little risky. But for 5, playing the Basil Hawkins, getting rid of the Okiku of all things. which I would normally think would get a lot of value in a matchup like this. But I think the play is correct. I think Basil just gets generically more value, and it's going to be just as hard to remove it. So using the ISO to suspend the killer, and Jackson does have 2 Dawn up. We haven't seen if they run the Punk Gibson. That's not every kid player does do that. So it looks like they're swinging. It looks like it's 4, so it's a 12k, 12 to 8 right now. So you have to get up to 13, which is 5k counter, using just the block on Trafalgar Law to keep it living, and then 8k there on the 8 drop, getting to 9 with the killer. Another 8k attack there as well. And thinking big think. He eventually is deciding to do Punk Gibson, get the ISO, and now they have no Dawn open, and then for 1, William's deciding to just play the beige on top of the killer and just end the turn there. So again, 2 blockers up and an 8 drop. But so far, Jackson's been really, really successful at making sure that his 8 drop stays alive, having a lot of blockers, and the cycle with the Bonnies helped find more, as well as the killer, and deciding to pick up another blocker, a beige off the Bonnie. That's actually probably pretty big to help you get there. We've seen Jackson William use a lot of Nekos and Isos as well, so probably not a lot of those left. And again, not a lot of cycle going on for William either. And then the Basil Hawk is just going to get a lot of value here. So just swinging, I believe it was 8k, it might have been 9k at the 8 drop, and deciding just to let it go, which is a little bit surprising to me. I probably would have baited out the beige and then go from there and just kind of pressure them to have the Basil at least rested so I can swing into it. But swing into leader again, 5, and taking it going down to 2 life. And just kind of deciding, let's put 9 on or make our 8 drop a 9k and swing on leader there. Obviously, you're trying to bait them out to get blocks, and so blocking with the beige and then swinging with the 9k Basil Hawkins and taking the life there. It might be an 8k, either way, taking the life, going down to 1, and then paying the killer for 2 and putting a Dawn underneath each one of them. And man, what a shift in momentum this game has gone through, of where it was pretty much a lot of pressure from William getting a bigger board, and now cards like Basil being able to just really obnoxiously gain a lot of value, as well as I think you saw all of your killers, you've been able to do a lot of cycle with it. And ISO coming down from William to get rid of one of them, at least to rest them so they can't. And then 8k into your 8 drop, you use a 2k to get out of it. Killer for another one to draw a card. And then another 8k there, and you do have another 2k to get out of it. And that's really it. That is your turn. And this is, again, looking slowly just a lot better for Jackson as time goes on. It's just such a game of keeping your 8 drop alive, and Jackson's done a really good job at doing that, getting the blockers and the protection, and it looks really, really obnoxious. I can't imagine being in Williams' shoes right now. That just looked like not fun. So lights flickering because we were trying to get kicked out of the venue, so they kind of have to speed up. Time is approaching for not only the round but for the venue. But using the leader, just a 5k into the leader, definitely trying to not bait, but just get the Trafalgar Law rested so you can start swinging at stuff, especially with the Basil established. But now we have a big 9k swing with our 8 drop kid, and now we're back in the think tank. So deciding to block with the Law, going down to just not saving it either. You do have Basil Hawkins, so Basil's going to swing at lead and going down to 0 life. And then just playing a Trafalgar Law to bounce back to play a beige, putting a Dawn underneath your killer, and again 3 blockers established with your 8 drop kid. Really obnoxious, really, really obnoxious. And for 2, looking like they'd have another Neko, so getting the rest on the killer, and then swinging 8 into the 8-drop kid, getting a body to counter out of it, and then another swing there, 8, going up to 10 with a scratch mana poo, and that's probably pretty close to it. An 8k swing with leader into the kid using the beige to block it. You can pay 3 to get another 8k swing with effect, but with that Trafalgar, like that's the best they can do is like remove Trafalgar Law. Pitching the Okiku, which was dead in hand anyways, using the ISO counter, and this is probably pretty close to it. No cards left in life for William. You got a lot of swings going on. Honestly, I would have just put all of my Dawn underneath the Basil and swing, but being a little bit more conservative with it. Just a big 8k swing. Maybe not all 10, but like most of my Dawn, a lot more than that on there. But it's doing the job no matter what. Getting rid of both blockers, and then 9k for the win. So GG's, Jackson takes that. Is our undefeated in Swiss, and that will be it for this video. So thank you guys so much for watching. Good luck to both competitors in top 16 tomorrow, and I'll catch you all next time.